As I breathe in, I acknowledge that life that is flowing into me, to me, for me. And this life I call God. It has many names. It is the source of all there is. It is unlimited, all-powerful, eternal. And because of this, because of its nature and all that it can be and create in an unlimited way, that all of that is within me, for it is creating me in this moment, in every moment. And so all of its nature, all of its qualities are accessible to me and through me, for it is living in me and as me now. And because that is my truth of my nature, I know that it is the truth of all. That love and that power and that unending eternal life is within all right now. And because it supports all that it creates, for it is its own life that is living through me to express itself into the world, that I am able to be supported throughout my life, regardless of the circumstances and the experiences, the challenges, those troubles that may weigh on my heart. I know that I am supported with that power, that it is always present, and that its love and support is with me, for it is living with me through all of that. And so because it gives me my strength, that I can recognize that I am growing through, for it is like a seed planted in that divine source, that I am pushing through to the light, through to be more that it can reveal through me, that I may enjoy my life fully through all of the good. And so I give great thanks, knowing that all people are expressing that one presence, that God, through them. And that in this world, it is revealed, always, and in every moment. And so I give great thanks and joyously appreciate this life in all of its circumstances, for I know that it is all good. It is for me as it moves through me, and I am blessed as all are blessed. And so I release this into that aspect of spirit that brings it all into being right now. And together we say, and so it is.
Playfulness. We're talking today about discomfort. I have to think what we're talking about. And our talk title is Where Comfort Ends, Transformation Begins. And our comfort zone, we like to think of our comfort zone as a place where we're very comfortable. It's not necessarily that. It's our conditioning. It's our how we perceive the world. It's who is good, who is bad. You know, I love watching, unless you've been under a rock for the last couple of months, you know that Taylor Swift is generating a whole lot of attention. Yes? And there are people, I've seen Facebook posts that she is Satan, and I've seen Facebook posts that she is the new Jesus. And what I know is that people are bringing their conditioning to looking at this. The same as we do with our politics. The same as we do with everything. What? We need to shake it off. We need to heal it and we need to feel it. We start to judge who is good or bad, and we are trapped in this idea, this conditioning that there is good, bad, and we should determine it. And my view is the right view, yes? Okay? Of course. You know, last week I kind of got on Sam because of a repeating error that was happening in the slides, and apologized for it afterwards. And this week I heard from a person who thought it was very inappropriate of me to do that, and another person who thought I modeled really good behavior about that. Okay? Was that good? Was it bad? You know, we have that story of the farmer whose horse escapes, and the townspeople all say, "Oh, that's terrible," and he says, "We'll see." And then the horse comes back, bringing 5 more with it, and everybody says, "Oh, that's wonderful," and he says, "We'll see." And this story continues to unroll and unroll and go along with, and he's just saying this neutral place of "we'll see," instead of assigning value to it. And I loved it because what happened last week was my conditioned view of life collided with Sam's conditioned view of life, interacted with the other people's views of life, intersected with their view of how a minister should be. We all have our how a minister should be's, yes? When I was in ministerial school, we did an exercise in our class of what we thought a minister should be and then what we thought our congregation would think what a minister should be. And they were in total collision, often within themselves. You know, the minister should never drink. The minister should be a kind of person who can sit down and have a beer with me. You know, all that stuff. You know, people tell me they love that I'm authentic and transparent. Guess what? I get irritated sometimes. I'm not that enlightened that it all just flows off me. And so, you know, we just bring it, but the important thing is not the right or wrong. The important thing is to notice this is my comfort zone. I'm living from my conditioned beliefs about how myself and other people should be, how life should be, how they should be out there, how I should be in here. And we have to shift that. It's like one of those paintings, one of those images you look at where it's all dots. And if you shift your focus, it becomes a dolphin or something else. And you suddenly realize that there's an image there. Now, have the dots changed? No. We've changed how we view the dots. And this is transformation. You know, we talk about where comfort ends, transformation begins. Where the comfortable way that I view the world ends, something new, a new view of what's already there, what's already existing, can emerge. We have to let go, however, of our attachment to my way is the only way. And I began to, as I was playing with that idea, I began to think, what if those image paintings had multiple images, that the deeper we went, even more images showed up? How deep can we do our transformation? How deep can we let go of our conditioning? How far can we go? So Michael Beckwith says that a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. One of my favorite phrases from him. See, our ego is necessary. We need it to differentiate, you know, who am I in this world? But it's the soul needs to drive. We're so conditioned that our ego, our intellect, drives our lives. That it's the most important thing. And what I want to invite us to do is take a breath and let go of that idea and see what the soul wants. See, the ego wants the comfort of sameness, of knowing how it's done, knowing how it is. It's easier to go through life that way. And on the human level, that works. But if we're looking to express something more in our lives than where we are, we have to let go of that. Because in that way, there's no growth. But the soul longs for growth. See, we talk oftentimes that there's one mind. And the idea that there's one infinite mind and that we are all using the same mind. We kind of think of, I got my mind and you got your mind and you got your mind. But no, it's one mind and we're all individually using this infinite. It's sort of like, you know, a metaphor would be the internet. There aren't 8 billion internets that are individual to each person. There's one, and each of us uses it. And we use it in our own individualized way. And by the way, after you use it for a while, algorithms set up that you're going to see certain information and not see certain information because you've generated an interest in this over here. How many of you have looked at something somewhere and all of a sudden all the ads for that show up on your Facebook page, right? Okay? Those are algorithms. Guess what? The same thing happens with our brains and our lives. What I'm interested in is what I see. If I think so-and-so is awful, I see more and more and more and more people agreeing with that. If I think so-and-so is wonderful, I see more and more people agreeing with that. When we can step back from that whole process, we can free ourselves. We also want to recognize that just as there is one mind, there is one soul, one essence throughout all the universe, and that you and I, and what we call our souls, are individualized expressions of this one soul. Emerson calls it the oversoul, this one vastness. We're individualized expressions of that. And the nature of soul, of this overall soul, is to evolve the expression of its own nature, to express more of who and what it is. Thus, our nature is to grow and express and evolve more of what that soul is through us. And when we get too stagnant, movement calls. I've used the phrase, the quote a couple of times recently from the Jewish Midrash, that every blade of grass has an angel that stands over it and strikes it and says, grow. And how many of you know that you've had an angel or something like that strike you and say, grow, right? You know? In the Taoist concept of yin-yang, yang is the motion that flows until it's complete. When it's complete, it moves into inaction. It moves into calm. It moves into tranquility. That's called yin. Until it's complete, and then it returns to motion. It's been said that the only motion in Tao is returning. It's always returning to itself. It's returning. It's this complement. And this model, this idea of action until it's complete and then rests, and rest until it's complete and then action, is a wonderful model for us to live by. Because, frankly, it's how life works anyway, so we might as well just do that. We have to have a balance between pushing and resting. We don't want to have the constant strain which comes out of our insecurity and our fears that we're not enough, or that the world will collapse and die if I don't just grow and grow and grow and drive my growth right now. Anybody meet somebody like that? Yeah? At times in my life, I might have been somebody like that. Or inversely, that we don't have to do anything. It's all la-ti-da good. I'm just going to sit on the beach of life and drink a margarita because, hey, whatever. And besides, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too poor, I'm too small, I'm too insignificant, whatever. Breathe. Evolution, universal evolution, is moving us from the pure physical animal nature that we all originated from into the mental nature, which is where most of humanity is today, into the spiritual nature, which is where we're going. And a lot of us who sit in communities like this are heading for that, saying yes. But we have to move it from a mental comprehension of that into hearing it at the soul level, at the spirit level. It's not enough to know about this teaching, for instance. We have to know it by living it, by letting it come into our souls, infect our souls. See, we can either go along with that universal momentum or we can dig our heels in and resist. The same Melissa Felipe who wrote that song has a fabulous older song that I've mentioned a couple of times, going kicking and screaming down the path of transformation. I might have done that, and I bet you some of you have too. But I can tell you it doesn't work in the long run. Life just passes us by, perhaps running us over and flattening us as it goes on by. And our clinging to our comfort becomes more and more uncomfortable. I've also shared recently one of my favorite quotes from the writer Anais Nin, who said, "And the time came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." There comes a point where our comfort zone, our how it always is, becomes so uncomfortable. And we realize there's something, because there's a soul push within us that says, no, we've got to change. When we begin to work to realize that, when we begin to work to realize that it's not me working on my soul, and that I have the option to say yes or no, and I can get to it in a future lifetime, that's okay. When we start to realize instead that it's this cosmic soul trying to evolve, trying to express through us, and we can either cooperate with it or not, and there are consequences for either way, that my discomfort, as Ernest Holmes says, my discomfort is of no consequence in the ongoing evolution of the soul. Breathe that in. My discomfort is of no consequence to the overall evolution of the soul. And it's better in the long run to let go of my ego's fear-based addiction to comfort, to sameness, to how it believes that it is, and experience the mild discomfort of living and learning something new. And sometimes we fall down. Yes? As we learn something new, sometimes we fall down, just like we did when we were children, right? Rumi has a wonderful little saying that says, "Where there is ruin, there is hope for treasure." Where there is ruin, where there is our plans not working out the way we expected them to, there is room for something new, something even more valuable. Some of you are familiar with the Japanese art of kintsugi, where it takes broken pottery and puts it back together with gold, and therefore makes it more valuable than it was. Where there is ruin, there is hope for treasure. Every successful person has crashed and burned. And by the way, every successful person has been judged along the way. Are you successful people? Yes. You've been judged along the way, haven't you? Yes. And successful people learn from that crashing and burning and move forward. I'll bet you, as good as Brent is today, there was a time in his life that he didn't sound so good on piano, probably when he was about 3. I don't know. But kept on going. Thomas Edison, when asked about his failure to make a working light bulb, replied that he hadn't failed. He had just discovered a whole lot of ways that didn't work. He also said, "Show me a thoroughly satisfied man, and I will show you a failure." And one more Edisonism. To invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. Many of us along the way have created piles of junk, yes? Okay. And often our biggest fear is, how will I look to others? How will they judge me? Our conditioned ideas of how things should be, what's important, shows us what our conditioning is. Most of us are afraid to leave our comfort zones because we might be judged. But our discomfort is of no consequence to the evolution of the soul. So it doesn't matter whether somebody's judging you or not. Are you living according to your soul, in alignment with that essence, that voice? And so asking a different question then Will I feel foolish and be judged? And oftentimes we're most harshly judged by, yep. Instead of asking the question of will I face the 4 L's, people won't like me, people won't love me, people will leave me, people will lash out at me. A more powerful question is, what does the infinite soul want to manifest through and as me? That's an empowering question. And you can rest assured that it always wants to manifest more of its own nature. And what is its nature? Sam, could you pop that slide? Its nature is life. Not that slide. Here we go. Life. Its nature is love. Its nature is light. It's that ability to see all that's easy for you to say. Perspectives. Thank you. Don't judge me. Or do. It manifests power, the ability to create. Its nature is peace. But it understands that as a oneness, there is nothing opposed to anything it creates. How would you like to know that nothing is opposed to anything you want to create? That's the soul truth of you. And then out of that creation, it creates beauty. And from that beauty, it experiences joy. All of that in abundance. This comes from a New Thought writer named Thomas Troward, who was writing in the early 1900s. And it's sort of a flow from life to joy. That the purpose of life is ultimately to experience joy. That's your purpose. That's your purpose. Take it on. So let's play with this for a moment. Let's take a little fresh breath. Relax a little bit. Consider an area of your life where you're experiencing some discomfort. Just become aware of that. And then consider that your soul might be trying to get your attention to allow something new to evolve in your life. Ask that soul, what are you trying to express? What are you trying to evolve through me? And listen. See if one or more of those qualities of the divine might be seeking a greater outlet or expression in your life. More love, more life, more light, more power, more peace, more beauty, more joy, more of an abundance of this divine nature. And then ask, will you let go of your discomfort and say yes to the evolution of the Oversoul through you here? Will you say yes to that which wants to express as you? So take a breath and let yourself return your attention to this room. One of the great symbols of transformation is the butterfly. We all know that a butterfly begins as a caterpillar. The caterpillar has from birth within it two, from what I understand, what are called imaginal cells, which is the potential butterfly that is alive within the caterpillar. See, you and I have imaginal cells of the enlightened beings that we truly are. They're there from birth. So the caterpillar, after living its caterpillar life for a while, suddenly has an urge to cocoon itself. Anybody ever have the urge to cocoon yourselves? And we get cocooned in our own little comfort zone of self-righteousness, of this is how it is, of how I've always been. And what happens once it cocoons is the imaginal cells start to grow. And the caterpillar's response is to kill them. Basically, it has an immune system that's trying to fight and kill those cells. The problem is the cells keep multiplying faster than the immune system can kill them off. And eventually the caterpillar loses and dissolves into a soup of nothingness. How many of you have been in a soup of nothingness in your life? Yes? And how many of you are afraid to go there? See, the discomfort of the discomfort of the caterpillar is the birthing process of the butterfly. Our discomfort, the places where we feel like we're being pulled into a soup of nothingness, is truly our birth process into something new that we can't see until we get there. We like to know, don't we? Our intellect likes to know where we're going, right? It likes to have a definite, if I do this, this is going to be my result. Why do you think so many things are guaranteed in life, in human form, right? The soul doesn't work that way. Sorry. A transformation is literally a new form. New form. And we are being called to transform at the cellular level, the level of our souls. Will you say yes? And that's the only question to contemplate is, by the way, there's no right or wrong answer. Nobody's going to judge you if you say no. But will you say yes? Because frankly, that's where we're all going anyway. We might as well say yes. So this week, one spiritual practice, and that practice is kind of what you just did there. Listen to your soul. What is it wanting to evolve? What is it wanting to express through and as you now? And say yes to that, even if you don't know what that is. Saying yes to the process itself. One of our conditioning patterns is, like I said, is we have to know what's happening in order to say yes. And that's a good thing on the human level. It doesn't work on the soul level. So be willing to say yes to the journey. I want to close with a quote from Ernest Holmes from the last talk he did at the Asilmore Conference in 1959, which was his last talk there. And he says, there's a power, capital P power, there's a power transcendent beyond our needs, our little wants. Demonstrating a dime is good if one needs it, or healing oneself of pain is certainly good if one has it. But beyond that, the real feast at the tabernacle of the Almighty, in the temple of the living God, in the banquet hall of heaven, there is something beyond anything that you and I have touched. That is what we're being called to. We're being called to the banquet of the infinite. Will you say yes? We have an affirmation to close with. And Brent, I'm going to do a prayer after that. And would you do a little music underneath that? Thank you. So join me with this. I turn my focus from being comfortable to letting the soul evolve through me. Say this again. I turn my focus from being comfortable to letting the soul evolve through me. So it is. So I know that there is this one infinite presence, whatever name we want to give it. God, Spirit, Buddha mind, Tao, Allah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It's beyond all the names. That's just our conditioned beliefs of names. There's this thing that is this life, this love, that is this wholeness, evolving its own nature, evolving itself. And it expresses in, through, and as each one of us individually, because we are part of that evolution. We are on this planet, the latest level, the furthest it goes in this evolution. We get to consciously co-create with it, as it. And I speak my word that each of us says yes to this, that we let go of all the stuff, all the old millennia of human conditioning about how things should and shouldn't be, and step into a light of a capital T truth that has never been expressed or experienced before. There's beyond anything we have known before, and yet is there. We let ourselves lift and be lifted into a greater beingness, into a greater light that shines through, as, and all around us. We say yes. And I'm grateful for each of us being here on this planet at this time, saying yes to that which wants to evolve. What we are doing with that yes is important. What we're doing with that yes is an evolutionary step for all of humanity. And I'm grateful that we say yes. In that sense of gratitude, with an absolute conviction, I release this word into what we call the law, that which moves it into form and expression. It's the law of cause and effect, and we put in a cause. The cause is a yes to the evolution of the soul through us, and the effect is that it shows up. We let it be, and so it is.